Okay, well, hey, I'd like to welcome all of you here and beyond. uh, we're going to be here today with Lydia Parsley in Journey into Juicing. Lydia has a background in small-scale agriculture, cold-pressed juice, plant-based food products, cocktails, hospitality, and all aspects of clothing design and production. Her personal goal is to make positive changes in our food systems, as she has been researching and practicing food as medicine for over 7 years to empower people in their personal wellness. Lydia is a sustainable food systems integrator in training, special event pro, and very active in several nonprofits and projects to connect people with the healing power of plants. Lydia has received a Bachelor of Science in Biology with a minor in law. Her most recent startup, YesProduce.club, from her kitchen CACOON house in Southeast Portland, offering local produce box delivery and lots of house-made nutrient-dense add-ons, including cold-pressed juices. Looking forward to this information today. Lydia is a wealth of knowledge, and I think you're going to find this talk of hers and her knowledge very insightful. A few housekeeping notes before we begin. Please, video and mic controls are on the bottom of the Zoom screen. Please remain muted throughout the class, and you are welcome to use the chat feature throughout and type in your questions in the chat feature when it's opened up to Q&A and feedback at the end of the class. All right, with that said, we're now going to turn it over to Lydia. Lydia, you have the show.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me. And hello, everybody. Specifically, hello, Kate. Um, so we're going to be talking about juicing today. Like Michael said, I've dedicated quite a bit of myself to juice and produce in particular. So I'm really excited to share my experience so far in kind of an encapsulated way. So I'm going to be reading notes off of a screen. I will come back and answer any questions that anyone may have at the end. I would really encourage everybody out there to grab a pen and paper. If you haven't already, go ahead and just pause this. Okay, I can give you a couple of minutes if you want to go grab a pen and paper. I'm going to give some numbers, but we're going to kind of talk through the steps of juicing and why. An overview is kind of like, I'm going to talk about why juicing, what to juice, and then how to juice, and then kind of talking more about the difference between specific juicers and which one might be right for you. And that's something that I'm happy to do as a follow-up to, is to talk to people about what kind of equipment would work for them. So I'm just going to jump in, and then, like I said, if you have any questions, jot it down. If you have access to me later, let's talk. Otherwise, Kate, I will answer every single question you have about juice. And you too, Michael. So why juice? Juicing can, on a regular basis, can reduce blood pressure, high blood pressure and inflammation, can help to chelate minerals and all kinds of toxins out of our system, kind of balance our already efficient systems that we have as part of living beings. It can increase your mental clarity and improve rest and give rest to your digestion. Definitely helps with healthier skin. Our skin is one of the last organs that get nutrients in our body. So when people juice, oftentimes they're like, oh, I feel like I'm glowing a little bit, or I can tell that my skin looks more hydrated. Juicing is great for that. I personally juice to increase energy, and also for mental clarity and focus. And kind of one of the more rooting aspects of juicing for me is that it helps balance my moods, and it helps with emotional clarity, and generally my emotional health. So my personal journey, I started doing cold pressed juice probably around 10 years ago. At first I was buying it, and then I was making it for myself, and then I made it for some friends, and then I made it for a lot of friends, and then I realized that it's kind of what I wanted to dedicate my professional life to in some way. So then I started juicing for more like hundreds of people. And then I had a company where I was making cold pressed juice and selling. And I started to come up with kind of a holistic system around juicing and no waste and giving back to the land and all these really fun ideas. And in a smaller way, I've been kind of reworking each one of these little areas, whether it's working with farms or growing produce or making the juice, like what kind of recipes and combinations. So I've been gathering experience through all realms of what is part of the juicing system, if you will. And I'm going to delve right in on what to juice. I think most people know about carrot juice. We have citrus juice. Like these are all kind of the more accessible juices for a lot of people's taste buds. Personally, I find that green juices can be more medicinal and healing than a lot of the fruit heavy juices. So I'm going to kind of share some ratios. So this is definitely a time to have a pen and paper for about the next 15 minutes. And if you could just jot down whatever you can as fast as you can write. And I'm going to give you some ratios and combinations a little bit more from the follow-up email when you signed up. So as far as juicing with fruit, I do around 25 to 35% maximum. With root vegetables and hard squash, I will juice between 10 and 40%. And this is all by weight. So you can definitely do it by eyesight, but if you have a little kitchen scale, or even if you kind of like feel things out, I find that juicing is a very experiential process. And so having some numbers can be really helpful. So greens, 25 to 35%. And then fresh herbs and more medicinal items like ginger, I will do 1 to 5%. So as you can tell, I basically gave you some ratios for combinations. You are more than welcome to just juice carrots or just juice beets. But just remember, what juicing actually is a concentrate, because you're removing the fiber, whether it's soluble or insoluble fiber, out of the juice. And what you have is the essence of that produce. So a lot of people's bodies cannot handle 100% beet juice or even 100% celery juice. Some people cannot handle that with their taste buds, and that's totally okay. So that's where I gave you a bunch of ratios to kind of play with. And then the two combinations that I had sent out with the reminder for this class, one of them was called Runner's High, and that is 35% cucumber, 30% apple, 15% beet, 10% pitted cherries, and 2 to 5% ginger, depending on how spicy you like it. And I'm going to go through and explain exactly why I put exactly how much of each thing in that blend. But generally speaking, you kind of get the idea that it's energy boosting and hydrating, if I'm going to call it Runner's High. And I've actually experimented with this juice with several friends of mine in marathons, and they have run faster than they've ever ran when I gave them around half gallon for one of them was a 10-hour race done in sections, and then another one was a 2-hour race, and both of them said that about 30 to 40% increase, and they timed their races. That was on the first try, and then on the second race they had increases above that. So obviously that's just two people, but these are two runners who are quite dedicated to better performance. And I noticed that when I drink Runner's High, like I would drink that before a boxing class or some kind of like cardio, and then I'm not as hungry after class because I've gotten some of that sugar. So what I'm going to explain is the cucumber is hydrating. So obviously you're going to get some water in there, but the raw cucumbers also have almost like a collagen, like that's why we put it on our faces, right? So that comes right into your system, balanced by a little bit of apple, which is sweetness. And there's some soluble fiber in the cucumber and in the apple. So it can be a little bit of like filling as well. Insoluble fiber does not have any nutritional value. So having a little bit of that soluble fiber is great as a base for the sugar, because there is apple and beet, and beets are very high in sugar. They're actually higher in sugar than apples. A lot of people don't really know that, but so I only use 15% beet because otherwise it can be too much of a sugar rush. The cherries have a natural tartness to them that kind of tempers the sweetness, but cherries are super high in vitamin C. And that helps to relieve soreness. So part of the performance out of this juice is having that heavy hit of vitamin C backed up by a little bit of sugar, and then kind of calmed down with the cooling cucumber. And then the ginger, that's why I gave a 2 to 5%. That can be a little bit hot for some people, depending on how you run. And so if when you have ginger, you like kind of feel overloaded or a little bit, some people get anxious when they have too much ginger, or just like generally too much heat in the body, you can actually take the ginger out of that blend. My digestion is pretty slow, so I have a slower metabolism in general. And so that ginger kind of like revs me up and gets me ready to like burn some calories. So you kind of have to feel that one out for yourself. But generally speaking, this is an energy juice that could be like a coffee replacement. And then the other ratio that I gave was cooling greens. And so the cooling greens are very alkalinizing and calming. Again, get your pen and paper because I'm going to give you the ratios. So it's 30% cucumber, 30% celery, 20% romaine, 10% fennel, and then the rest you can make up the 100% with 2 to 5% of each of parsley, cilantro, and whole lemon with the skin on. So lemons, the juice definitely has vitamin C, but the peel actually has more vitamin C. And then you get the lemony kind of lemon head flavor of the oils. And a lot of people like that in their green juice because it kind of tempers the flavor. It also helps with absorption. So all green juices that have a little bit of vitamin C in them will help you to absorb the chlorophyll, the nutrition from the chlorophyll, just a little bit better. But when you add citrus to green juice, it kind of cooks it in the way that citrus juice like cooks ceviche. The acid from the citrus will kind of cook the juice a little bit. So you don't have as long of a shelf life if you're making your juice in advance, like if you're using a cold press juicer. But functionally, when I make green juice, I like to add a little squeeze of fresh lemon to it. If I'm planning on drinking it in the next 2 days, I will add whole lemon for the reasons that I mentioned before, the extra vitamin C from the pith, and then the little lemoniness of the oils. So this alkalinizing calming blend is great to reduce inflammation as well. Celery is very high in several minerals that are for some people mood boosting, but also calming. Boron is one of those, and I'm probably not going to get too technical, but you can look up if you wanted to all the different minerals that are in this blend, and it really is kind of a mineralizing bath for your digestive system, because if you think about it, we're kind of a combustion system, and our bodies produce heat when we digest. So if we give it a break by not having to actually do the mechanical motion of breaking up the food into the different, base nutrients, then our body can rest and kind of cool down a little bit. And then when you assist it with this alkalinizing blend, it's kind of doing like nutritional synergy, if you will. And that's one of the things about raw juice that I love, is that there's so much nutritional synergy between different types of produce, and you can get really into different combinations. There's people that, write whole books and recipes and things like that, and you can nerd out as much as you want, because when you remove the fiber, that insoluble fiber, your body is able to absorb the nutrients without having to break it down. So more on what to juice. I recommend that people buy directly from local farms as much as possible, which is what I personally do. And then I also do professionally. And if you're not able to access small local farms, definitely head to a farmer's market. If you don't have access to a farmer's market, some farms have like a little stand, or if you need to, you can also buy organic. And then if you can't buy organic, look up the Dirty Dozen. Don't juice that stuff unless it's organic, like strawberries. I highly recommend not juicing non-organic strawberries because they are sprayed with all kinds of stuff and they grow right on the ground. So when people ask me, what should I juice? I'm like, if you can't afford organic produce, buy things that do not grow on the ground, but above the ground, because there's a better chance that they will be sprayed less, and then just wash them in warm water before you juice them. So grow what you can, even if it's just some herbs in your front window or a couple pots on your balcony. I encourage people to grow their own herbs and also a little bit of greens. If you're able to cut greens and then juice them yourself, it's not only very like satisfying that you're that self-sufficient in some small way, but chlorophyll is very volatile. And so the fresher your greens are when you juice them, the more nutrition you're going to get out of them. But that being said, no specific juice is guaranteed to work for anybody. We all have different body types. We have different epigenetics. I mean, juicing is such a personal thing that your body may not react the same to a juice one day as it will next week, you know? So you kind of have to be your own advocate and then also your own authority, you know? You're like, okay, body, I know that you feel hungover. If you drink this green juice, maybe we can get us feeling a little bit better. And so you kind of have to take on that portion for yourself. But that being said, once you get down the road of juicing on a regular basis, which is what I'm going to tell you after this portion, is your body will start to want it. And then once you start wanting what's good for you, it kind of reorients your brain a little bit into wanting more things that are good for you. So I guess what I would say is you figure out what makes you feel good and what works for your taste buds. And then the more green juices you have, or the less sweet juices you have, or you know, think juices where you're trying different things, weird combinations where you're like, I have all this stuff and it's, you know, going to go soft soon. There's some dents in these apples, or, you know, I wonder what it would be like if I put some lemongrass in my juice. Just experiment on how things look to you. So color is indicative of nutrients. So we can actually choose juices that will be good for us based on color. Your body has evolved, or whatever you want to call it. You have come to this place of being alive on this planet right now because we figured out how to eat a variety of different foods. And that's not because we were being told what to eat. We had to figure it out. So your ancestors did a good job of staying alive, at least long enough to help create you. And you can trust that intuition and that understanding of, I can see a color and want to put that color into my body and know that it may have some of the nutrition that I need. So that's part of what I love about juicing, is that it is so personal. Yes, you can choose based on flavor, but for most people, you kind of have to get your taste buds in line with your eyeballs, in line with your stomach, and that does not come overnight. It's kind of a journey, as you'll hear me talk about journeying and juice. Everybody's juicing journey is a little bit different. And so just enjoy where you are. And if you can take it all the way to reducing, you know, health issues that you might have, great. If it just means that you're giving your digestion a little bit of a break, totally fine. If you want to go all the way and do some kind of crazy cleanse to get rid of your eczema or whatever, it's totally valid. And there are so many people out there who will help you get to that, you know, get to your goals. If it's losing a little bit of weight, definitely juice can help with that. It comes with some other benefits and some other kind of like balancing factors where when you do juice cleanses, you typically lose water weight first. So it's kind of like you're not really losing weight, you're just reducing the amount of water that your body holds. But part of why you're holding that water is because you're inflamed. So it's kind of a win-win with juicing. What I would say is, if you make juices that you hate, make soup out of it, put it in the freezer, no problem. Think about it later. Make a gingery salad dressing or pour it in the ground and just give it a blessing. Just be like, here you go, ground. I didn't do so great on this one. Here, you have it. And the ground will figure out what to do with it. And there's really no such thing as waste when it comes to nature, but there is waste in our human systems where, not everybody understands the value of composting. So that's a big part of juicing that I wanted everybody to kind of walk away with. Please compost whatever juicing fiber is left over from your adventures, or make muffins out of it. Like if you do a ginger, beet, carrot, lemon juice, that's a delicious muffin waiting to happen. If you do tons of greens, probably too fibrous, probably too much cellulose, will not make delicious muffins, but maybe you can put it outside in your soil and kind of, dig it in a little bit at the top and mix it with some cardboard, or, there's so many things that you can do with this beautiful, the technical name is bagasse, Bagasse. So if you ever want to look up what to do with this juicing fiber, you can use that term. It's fascinating what people do with it. But you can also feed it to pigs or chickens, just make sure that you compost it. If you live in a city that has city compost, great. Just don't put it in the garbage, because literally 40% of the household waste in the US is food garbage. And what happens with food garbage is it mixes with all the plastics and the alloys and all the other stuff that we put in our regular garbage, and it makes all kinds of greenhouse gases. So why take something that could be food for the earth and turn it into literal waste is kind of where I'm going with it. Bagasse is wonderful for the microbes that build healthy soil. So it's kind of like gold. And they now make countertop models where you can put your compost into this little countertop machine and it turns it into compost in 2 weeks. I think they're like $200 or $300, which sounds crazy. But if you live in a high-rise apartment and you have no access to composting whatsoever, they now have a way that you can make your own compost for your little pot of herbs in your windowsill or whatever. So definitely get creative, use that bagasse. And then next on is how to juice. So I can't give you technical tips on your juicers because we're in a virtual delay system here. But the most important part that I wanted to impart onto you is to juice weekly. And if you can, better yet, daily. But no matter what, I commit that you commit to juicing at least once a month. I feel like that's doable for everyone. And that's not even necessarily making it. I don't care how you're getting this juice, but you definitely only want to drink juice that is raw. If you're drinking pasteurized juice, you are losing the main point of drinking juice, which are the enzymes. So our body operates on enzymes, which are scientifically, they are catalysts. So they assist reactions in our body, basically kind of like grease the wheels. So if you don't ingest these enzymes that are so abundant in raw juice, you are burning the calories very inefficiently. So pasteurized juice is probably the worst. After that, there is HPP, which is a high pressure processing technique. And when you buy a bottle of juice at like Whole Foods, you can usually turn it around and find the HPP logo. That means that it still has most of the enzymes intact, but it does not have the full nutritional value, and the shelf life has been extended to usually around 3 months. They're usually a different color. They separate in ways that you don't see with raw juice when you make it yourself. And the only people who are testing these juices are the companies that make the equipment. And in my experience, I have not found the same vitality from these juices. But if that's all you can access for raw juice, that's fine. Then when you go to a juice bar, you can normally get like a centrifugally made juice where you order a combination and they make it in front of you. That's a centrifugally made juice. So it's like a spinning motor that has little teeth, in a filter, and it kind of grinds the produce as you push it down and then spins the juice to the outside, increasing the amount of or the amount of air that it's exposed to. So it still has a lot of the enzymes intact, but when you buy that kind of juice from a juice bar where they make it in front of you, there's usually like about an inch or more of foam on the top. That foam is created by the enzymes being exposed to air. So you have less enzymes in centrifugally made juice. But the advantage to that is that you can ask them to keep out the ginger, or you can make it at home with the centrifugal juice and drink it right away, and it's a little bit easier to clean that machine. So there are lots of different types of juice, and you can find out what works for you, and we'll talk a little bit more about juicers and juicing at home. But basically, when you drink raw juice, you want to keep it, if you're making it ahead of time, you want to keep it cold until about 15 minutes before you're going to drink it, because you have around, scientific studies have shown that you have around 15 minutes after you make centrifugal juice to drink it before you have a drop, like an exponential drop in nutrition. It's the same thing when you take a bottle of cold pressed juice out of a fridge. You have about 15 minutes when you expose it to air before it loses its nutrition. So also, when you're making juice ahead of time at home, you never want to have more than a half an inch or so of air in the bottle, because that will also use up, like, basically whatever juice is exposed to the air, the enzymes get kicked off, and so you're not able to drink them. It kind of like starts to ferment the juice, basically. One of the things about juicing that I love about being able to do it at home is that I don't have to create all that waste of the plastic cups. If you do pre-juice, reuse your containers. Some people have like their favorite juice cup with like a reusable straw in it. I think that that's a really fun way to juice at home, is to have like whatever vessel you get excited about drinking juice out of, use that one vessel. Some people like clay or glass straws or something special, but something that's reusable is so great, because most packaged food out there is causing a lot of the plastic in our oceans. So we can reduce that when we juice at home, or we can use or buy from a company that uses reusable containers. And then like I said, if you can't really be bothered to juice yourself, you can go out and buy juice. And one of the fun things about that is not having to wash the juicer, but also because you get to try other people's combos and ratios and be like, oh, I really like that carrot, orange, lemon blend, but I wish there was less lemon. Well, you can go home and kind of play with it, and make your own blends based on what somebody else has done and what you're inspired by other people's work. So next, I'm going to talk about different styles of juicers in a little bit more detail. One question that I did get all the time when I had a juice company is people wanting to know what kind of juicer that they should buy. And kind of like what I was saying about like how to make blends is kind of the same thing with juicers. You have to figure out what's going to work for you. Part of that is, how much time do I want to spend juicing every time I juice? So how much time for a cycle? How much money do I want to spend, which is a big one. And then how much produce do I really like? How much juice do I want to make at one time? Like, how long do I want it to last me? How much produce do I really want to be putting in my body as juice? So what I recommend before you choose a juicer, go to a juice company and buy as much juice, as many juices as you want for a week. Just kind of like budget it out, spend some money on it, and then juice or drink all the juice that you feel like is benefiting you in that 1 week, and keep tabs on how much that costs you. Now you do the math, and after 1 week of drinking all the juice that you feel like your body actually wants and feels good with, multiply that so that you're spending around 3 months worth of juice on a juicer. If you can pay for your juicer in your own value, After 3 months, I feel like it's worth it because most people will keep their juicer for around 2 years. People move around a lot more now. We don't necessarily want big things on our countertops. Everybody's got kind of a different style that they're looking for, either in like using, like some people really do not want plastic parts in their juicer, which I think is great. Some people prefer like an easier, shorter cycle. Some people want their juice to last for several days, which is me. I like to juice in batches personally. I like to juice once every 3 days or once a week and then drink the juice for 3 or 4 days. Because typically raw juice has a maximum peak shelf life of 3 days. And that's if you're going with the most expensive, slowest juicers. And when I say slow juicers, there are so many different technical names, and that's part of why I was saying that, I can give people more specialized advice on what's going to work for them, because there are slow masticating, there's cold press, there's all these different names, there's centrifugal juice, there's fast slow juicers. Like there's so many different brands out there, and none of them are that cheap. I would say, generally speaking, if you're spending less than $100 on a juicer, you might just start off with a really good blender, and then actually blend produce and add around 30% water, and then use like a cheesecloth, kind of like a cheesecloth style, but like a nut milk bag, and just squeeze your own juice through that. Because if you're not able to find a juicer that can get at least 30 to 50% liquid out of the ingredients, then you're going to lose money on buying produce and not getting enough juice out of it, if that makes sense. Because a lot of the cheaper juicers, they don't have very good extraction. So generally speaking, spend around 3 months of your desired juice budget on a juicer. And then around 30% of what cold pressed juice costs retail wise, spend around 30% on your ingredients when you're juicing at home. And there have been so many juicers out there that seemed great for a little while, but then they didn't offer replacement parts. I mean, there's like lots and lots and lots of noise out there on how to choose a juicer. So I'm going to kind of streamline it for you in terms of brands. I like Breville, I like Pure, and I like Norwalk. Green Star is great if you really want a slow masticating juicer for greens. There are many other brands and knockoffs and similar things, but I'm not going to go into all of that because it gets overwhelming even for me. I personally have a Norwalk juicer. Don't love how many steps it takes to clean it. The Pure juicers are a little more streamlined. But my Norwalk is kind of a beast. It was also $2,500 for the stainless steel version. So it was a serious investment. And that was way after just personal juicing. I started off with the Breville that had like a big, huge chute. I could put whole apples and beets in it and juice really quickly, so that I could kind of get a feel for different blends that I liked and just drink. But once you realize how amazing you feel with cold pressed juice and your body starts to really integrate it in, and you don't need as much food to fill you up, and you can kind of start supplementing your diet with more juice, then the cold pressed and the slow masticating juicers really start to pull their weight. And a lot of people would be like, oh, I really want to spend that $500, but I just can't. Well, then track your budget. See how much you spend on, I don't know, coffee or snacks or food. And if it's accessible to you, spend more on your budget on a good piece of equipment that gets excellent ratings and you can get replacement parts for if you need to. Because what I've personally found is the better juicer I had, the better juice I was drinking, and the better I felt. So that's what I'm going to say about juicers, because you can spend $50 on a Lilane or $25 on a Lilane off of Craigslist, and you can totally love your carrot orange juice, for a year. But I guarantee you, if you're juicing a lot, you're going to get tired of using the cheap, not so efficient juicer. So that's kind of all I have to say about juicers. At this point, I was going to open up for a little bit of Q&A. Michael, if you have a question, I'm happy to answer. Kate, if you have a question, jump in. Otherwise, I'm happy to speak a little bit more about combinations, because I know that a lot of times people are like, give me some recipes. And I'm like, go make some on your own. So opening it up.
All right. Wow, Lydia, you're like a encyclopedia. That's old.
Yeah.
Some sort of download. Wonderful information.
Thanks.
Wonderful information. I have a lot of different questions because you're giving us such deep understanding of why juicing. So I'm going to start at the top here. You said one of the
Moving around a little.
of juicing has to deal with the enzymes. Um, so what is it about the enzymes? You said that it's that's what we're getting mostly out of the juicing and why we need to keep it fresh.
That's what's special. So people are like, why wouldn't I just have smoothies? Why wouldn't I just eat an apple whole? Why am I removing the fiber is a big one, right? So it kind of leads back in to that why juice question. Enzymes, yes, but also because the enzymes are catalysts. So it makes your digestion way more efficient. So some people are like, is this going to make me poop? And I'm like, hopefully, because it's not the juice that's coming out. Like, I hope it makes you poop. If you're backed up, like, let's do this. And so different people have, different types of digestion. Some people, like I said, they cannot handle 100% beet juice. It just messes them up. But if you can have 30% beet juice and get the enzymes from the beets, and then you have 30% of the cucumber enzymes, then you're getting lots of different kinds of enzymes, which will help to catalyze the reactions in your stomach. So they make your own natural digestive enzymes more efficient. It's like it's a responsive process. A lot of people do not have good flora, which is the gut bacteria. A lot of people don't have, enough prebiotic health in their intestines and their colon to digest food properly. So if you can clean out any area of our very long, complex digestive system, woohoo. But then in addition to that, you're also getting the nutrition from the vegetables. And a lot of people, or fruit, a lot of people cannot digest raw produce.
Okay, that brings me to a question about mixing. So I've heard many things about, you're not supposed to mix fruits and vegetables together. You have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of combinations. What's your take on mixing fruits and
So
vegetables?
because you're taking out that insoluble fiber, total different food combining rules. I will say one food combining rule that I tend to stick with more than others when it comes to produce combining is the melon. A lot of people who are really into food combining do not have melons with any other food. So like you're supposed to eat melons by themselves. I find if I do melon with a little bit of herbs or some greens, that can be really hydrating and cooling. But generally speaking, I don't put anything else in my melon juice. And so when it comes to the combining, the food combining rules are different because you're taking out the insoluble fiber, which is part of the reason why you don't combine, sweet fruits with this thing and that and then a lot of it is, first of all, is fats, which juice doesn't have a lot of fat in it anyways. Like when it comes to combining like milk and meat, like not necessary here. Like a lot of the problems kind of disappear with food combining when you're juicing because you don't have the fiber and because there's not a lot of fat happening. So there's 5 different enzymes in your stomach, and there's 2 in your mouth, and then there's a little bit different stuff in the different part. But so basically you're more trying to pump up the maximum nutrition in this concentrate in a way that doesn't upset the enzyme function of your stomach. And so I can't tell you what's going to work for you. You might not do well with 100% cucumber juice. I can usually tell because I've been experimenting with this for a long time. But part of why juicing is a journey and so great is that you get to figure out what works for you.
Okay. Perfect segue for my
So
next question.
combine whatever sounds delicious that makes you feel good. If something sounds delicious and your taste buds like it, and then your stomach is messed up afterwards, there's a few different reasons for that, but just don't do that again. Like, play with it a little bit, like say, oh, I think maybe this time I'm going to use a little bit less citrus, or I'm going to do a little bit more ginger. And that's why making a little bit at a time is so great. Like in the beginning, I was juicing every day. And so I could kind of do a different combination every time and just follow your taste buds and your intuition. So yeah, go ahead, segue me.
Well, that is what it's about. So this intuition, all right. I thought that was very interesting how you stated, how our ancestors had to learn these things. We somehow think that, I don't know, there was a code and we all popped here and immediately we knew everything. But we had to learn these things, and that's what our bodies are doing. Our bodies are nature. And so, but with that, I believe that we've lost that even.
We haven't lost anything except for the understanding that we have it.
That's exactly that understanding that we actually have this capability.
We've just become disconnected. That's all. But it's all in there because you're here. You did not come out of a Cabbage Patch, as cute as you are, and I didn't come from a stork, as adorable as they are. So, like, we came from human beings who were able to get enough nutrition to procreate. That's saying something in this world.
Wow. Okay. So, all right. So, are you saying that really you're telling us to, you know, look at things and go, "Wow, I think that would feel good to me." I mean, what
Yep.
are you? You know.
Oh, you wanna play like palette? Because that's what I do. I'm like, oh, I want to see what beets and Concord grapes and basil. Like, that sounds kind of delicious, but weird. Like, just try it. And then if you have a way to juice kind of on demand, you don't like the balance, add a little bit more of something else. Can't handle it, add some more sugar. Most people, if they add an apple to almost anything, they can kind of make it palatable, So just play with it. Be like a little artist at home. Uh-oh, you went on mute, Michael.
Oh,
There
there
you
we
go.
go. Okay. Let's go to fasting or the cleansing. Um, what would someone do to, let's say they just want to do a cleanse, they want to give their body a break, they want to detox. um, what would you suggest with that? How would we,
First, I would say take your foot off the gas. So the way that physics works is a lot of people drive like they have their foot on the gas and then they like want to stop, and so they hit the brakes really fast. Don't do that. It's not good for your digestion. So if you want to cleanse, first you got to take out the stuff that you're trying to cleanse from. And you know what that is. It's too much cheese or too many bottles of wine, whatever it is. You got to stop that first. That's step one. You want to cleanse? Do not get super drunk and then buy a bunch of juice and think that you're gonna like cleanse yourself. You're gonna feel like crap. So I wrote a little article, and we can post that. You're on mute right now, by the way, Michael, but we can post the link because I think it's still live somewhere on the internet, and it says, so you want to do a juice cleanse? Because I started doing juice cleanses for people, and I was like, holy cow, like they need to like have a list of expectations before directions before they can just do it. So the first thing I would say is take your foot off the gas. After you take your foot off the gas, try doing some smoothies, because most people need some of that, an extra amount of soluble fiber and even insoluble fiber, because that's nature's scrubbing brush, right? So you start off with smoothies. You're sick of smoothies? Great. Start juicing. If you're sick of smoothies and you've done them and you liked them at one point and you're kind of over them, you're totally ready to do a juice cleanse. That's my recommended like gateway into cleansing. But for some people, they really want to just go for a juice cleanse. Do it. You got to get rid of all the meat and the dairy and the alcohol and all of the things that perpetuate toxins and unhealthy hormones in your body before you can put in the good stuff. Otherwise, you're wasting everybody's time. So you stop that for at least 3 days and more like a week. And then you can drink lots of juice. But just because you're drinking lots of juice does not mean that you're not supposed to drink water. So you have to drink about the same amount, because juice is a concentrate. You have to drink about the same amount of water. So you're actually supposed to drink more water on a cleanse than you drink in your normal life when you're eating food. So those are the two things that I see people doing wrong all the time, is they don't take their foot off the gas enough, and they don't drink enough water. If you drink enough water and you took your foot off the gas, I can almost guarantee that you're going to have a pretty decent cleanse if you're not on prescription medication and or like hormones and stuff like that. So once you have extra inputs in, it makes cleansing a little bit more tricky, and you really have to talk to a practitioner before you even attempt to do a cleanse if you're on any kind of medication or hormones or thyroid, any of that stuff, because it's going to totally change your balance. And there are definitely ways of doing it. One of the things I encourage people to do first before they do a juice cleanse is to check out I forget what it's called, but it's like SIBO something website. And a lot of people don't have SIBO, but they basically lay out for you what an elimination diet looks like. And you don't have to do all of that. But at least it kind of gives you a breakdown of foods that are a little more taxing on a lot of people's system and foods that most people need to have less of. So I appreciate the work that's been done out there for SIBO stuff. I think that juicing is basically applicable for like 95% of the population that I'm aware of. And I've traveled a lot, and I understand lots of different people with dietary restrictions. And you can say, oh, what about the sugar for diabetics? Well, green juice. Like, green juice is quite a literal answer for a lot of mental health issues as well. Like I said before, very calming, all those minerals. A lot of people are mineral deficient, and not because they're not ingesting the amount of minerals that they need. It's because they don't have the absorption of those minerals. And it gets more complex from there. So I'm not going to go too nerdy unless, Kate, you really want me to, or Michael, you really want me to. But essentially, most people should be able to have raw juice and get significant health benefits from it. It's just about finding what works for you.
Wow. Okay. I've been asking lots of questions. Does anyone else have a question that they want to speak and or type?
Anyone, Kate? You can text me directly.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I got two more questions.
Okay.
Well, really, they might be the same. It's my understanding that inflammation really is the root cause of most all diseases. How does juicing, and this is a tricky one because I say that because this is that taking your foot off the gas. Most people want to, I'll say, they're either doing all those things. Most people are drinking too much alcohol. Okay, we live in a society that is high stress, and that's a relaxing, and it's cultural. And so I know we're all.
Michael, can you just tell people how old you are? Just real quick. How old are you, Michael?
I'm 50. I'll be 51 this month.
Cool. I'm 41. So I feel like taking your foot off the gas can be quite efficient at this point. And I don't know that we have to say that much more. It's just how it is. And so you want to take it further. I feel like you can do what you want to do as long as you want to do it. I really feel that way. And so the more investment you put into your health and well-being, that satiating health and well-being, not that I'm doing this because it's healthy for me and I hate it, but I'm doing it. Not that kind. The kind where you do it, you drink it, you eat it, you put this habit into your life and you're like, I actually feel great, or I feel much better. if you do something for a long period of time and it does not make you feel much better, maybe you don't want to do it, and so it's increasing that sensitivity inside of ourselves by feeding ourselves real interaction with people, real food, real sounds. Like, you in particular are quite sensitive towards certain things because you've eliminated other things. Not everybody is that sensitive. So for you, like the food combining thing, I could see how you could get super nerdy with that. And you will find that a lot of juice out there may not work for you because you kind of are a well-tuned machine in a way. And you have your own, every engine, like, talk to any mechanic, right? Oh, this 2002 is totally different than the 2004. Well, that's how we are. We could be the same make and model on the outside, but the inside this year just so happens that this crack of this bend in your colon makes it so that you're really sensitive to peaches, or I don't know. Your great grandmother had an overdose of almonds, or had like a fungus from a something, and it messed up the flora of her generation. Who knows? I don't know, but I know how I feel. That if you get tuned in, you can know how you feel. And so I've juiced for so many people who are like, oh, I have to do the FODMAP, I have to do the this, the that, because I have IBS, I have SIBO, I have this thing, I have that thing. That doesn't necessarily, those lists of things may not necessarily be what your individual body wants or doesn't want. So just like how I feed my stepson, like, you give toddlers foods a few different times. Yes, you don't want to give them an allergic reaction. Yes, you should listen to them if they say, I really don't like this, I don't know why. But you should still try to integrate, okay, I get it. You don't like radishes, Michael. I bet you I can find something with radishes that you might like. If your body really feels crappy when you eat radishes, then that's fine if you don't eat them. But just because somebody gave you a list and told you that you are now required to yes or no things on a list, that's like a guideline. That's why I don't give recipes. I'm like, here are the ratios that I use that I know over time thousands of people had success with. Otherwise, don't tell me what works for you as though it's going to work for me. And I can say that about, I don't know, 90% of healthcare out there. I'm like, sure, it may work for but maybe in this instance, it's just not working for me. So you get to do that with your food, especially with juice, because it feeds you, it gives you energy.
Well, Lydia, we're at the top of the hour now, and I just want to say that what you're saying, and what it said in your bio there, is really truly empowering people to um, know and take care of themselves by actually trusting in themselves, and being conscious of where they're doing things. And this is just beautiful because we have forgotten that, and hence so we just follow what we're told, or that thing, and I guess that's what I'm supposed to do, but why isn't it working? Why do I feel like crap? And then we keep doing the same things and feeling like crap. And I love the simplicity of what you're saying. Did you feel better? And I
Yeah.
think,
Did you
I
give it some time? Did you try it? Did you really give it a try? It's what I say to my stepson. I'm like, but did you really try it?
yeah.
Okay, you really tried it and it made you feel poop. Then give it a break, and then try it again in the future, maybe with slightly different variables if you really feel the need to.
I love it. So
Cool.
we have these. If you come to the class, or signed up for it, you're going to get some of these goodies that she has to offer here. I think some recipes. Um, and Lydia, where can they? This is just, you're just fabulous. Amazing work, and information. I've never heard of a juicing class this way ever. So thank you. Where do they find you again, and how do they get in touch?
So I have 3 social medias. One of them is for the Produce Box Club and my physical space in Portland, Oregon, which is called CACOON House. So it's spelled KUCHENPDX, and that's on Instagram. And then for juice specific is at Yes Juice Club, exactly how it sounds. YesJuiceclub. And then for my cocktail feed, it is at Tender Bar PDX. So TNDERBAR PDX. And then the website, very specific to Portland, Oregon right now, but soon we'll be selling some fruit and vegetable themed, all kinds of stuff, but mostly t-shirts, is yesproduce.club. So YesProduce.CLUB. And then you can kind of check out what I do in my daily life, as far as what we offer here at my kitchen. So we offer produce boxes and all kinds of add-ons. We make all kinds of stuff, including raw cold pressed juice that you can buy through our website. And then we offer free pickup or delivery. But just to Portland right now. Soon, like I said, we'll be doing some t-shirts and some other fun produce positive little accoutrements. And yeah, feel free to send me a direct message on any of those Instagram feeds if you have follow-up questions. If you want to follow me on Instagram for juicing stuff, like I said, the Yes Juice Club is the best for that. I sometimes post some combinations, but a lot of times I like to meet people where they are, so we can have long dialogues, or you can tag me and be like, what should I juice, or whatever. Like, I'm happy to interact that way through Instagram. It's kind of fun to have a body of work where people can see some combinations and then also get advice. So that's the way that I interact with all of you, I hope, in the near future.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Lydia, for that education, for that knowledge, for that wealth to us. I really, really appreciate you for doing this today. So thank you, guys. Check her out. As you know, you can sign up for the newsletter. That's how some people have found us out at thecocoon.com. That's TheCacoon.com. We're going to be featuring Lydia and many other workshops and other things that she's doing and what she's offering. We've got a lot of things ahead. So thank you, Lydia, so much.
Thank you so much, Michael. Bye, Kate. I love you.
Bye, Kate. Bye, everyone.